Emotionally unavailable.
Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Melissa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope it's fabulous. Today's guest is Dr. Dermel Brunson. He is a leader at the intersection of mental health, youth empowerment, and arts education with over 20 years of experience in mental health and foster care systems. Dr. Brunson has dedicated his career to providing support, healing, and leadership development for underserved youth. Through his profit Leaders of Tomorrow Youth Center, he integrates the arts as a tool for mental wellness, social, emotional learning, and community impact. We had a very great conversation. I really like him, and he's really nice. His mom's a social worker. I think that's cool. I would like to meet his mother because she raised a good baby. What else? I'm in allergy hell because Oklahoma allergies are brutal, and I'm not feeling the greatest, as you may tell, through my lovely voice. So I think I'm going to make this intro short. Loved having Dr. Brunson on my show. If I have accidentally referred to him as Dermel already, no offense, no disrespect intended. I'm not good at remembering to call people doctor. Okay, I think that's all for us, folks. Okay, here's me and Dr. Brunson.
Emotionally unavailable.
Hi, how are you?
Good afternoon. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm a little. I don't know what's going on with my sound.
My computer may be low. Nope, it wasn't. Great. Excellent. Love that for me. Will you talk again so I can see where you're at?
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I did something right. I don't know what, but we're gonna make it.
We're
Okay,
gonna
well,
make it.
nice to meet you. Is it Dr. Dermel?
Yes, that
Okay.
works. Yes, thank you so much.
Um,
Nice to meet you. And yours is
Melissa Hepner.
Melissa.
Yes. Yeah, it's spelled a little different. I was just reading again what you do, and it looks like if we were to just put it in an umbrella really quick, you do a lot of really powerful work with underserved youth.
Yes, with the arts, performing and creative arts.
Yeah. So, I want to talk about that, but I would really like to know what got you into that.
You want to talk now or before
Yeah, we're recording. We're rolling.
Oh, we're rolling. Look, I like you. I like you.
Yeah, I don't
like
waste time around here. We
I
just
like
get
it.
to it.
Bada bing, bada boom, baby.
Exactly.
So arts kid in Baltimore, born and raised West Baltimore, Maryland. Just started out young with music myself, playing the drums. My first job, being my mom sang in a choir, and I acted in plays, and in addition to playing sports young, and it really, led me down a path. I ended up going to the Baltimore School for the Arts, world-renowned conservatory model high school, and
Wow.
it impacted my life, and I felt like I was it touched me. I was hurt to see while I was working with young people in foster care. During my school visits in Baltimore and the surrounding area, I was hurt to see that so many schools didn't have a robust arts program.
Yeah.
And so that
most schools. Yeah.
And so that really led us to really, put the structure in the ground and start to build an opportunity for teaching artists, arts practitioners, arts educators to serve young people through teaching, and for young people to get this opportunity to be taught by folks that were in the field.
Yeah. That's so cool. What I don't know if I'm going to word this correctly, but did you see experiences kind of unique to foster children that you really felt pulled to this particular art thing seems to help them?
At that time in my life when we really pushed this into the Baltimore City school system and wanted to do more with after school and workshops, yes, I was at that time, my full-time employment was, with a foster care agency. And so
Oh,
I
okay.
was working with young people in care. My mom's a social worker. She impacted me in that way. And people are now
Okay.
networking. So, being around it, I saw that the young people needed those healthy outlets,
Yeah.
music, theater. And when we're talking LTYC, Leaders of Tomorrow Youth Center, which is our arts education nonprofit, we serve young people with equitable access to the performing and creative arts in Maryland, DC, and Virginia.
I love
Our
that.
goal is to give, music and theater and dance and visual arts and creative writing and fashion and cosmetology and
Oh my
culinary arts,
gosh. Just
culinary art,
everything.
media arts,
Yeah.
martial arts, all of the performing and creative arts we see as a very important conduit to young people finding themselves, finding their abilities, supporting with academic development, supporting with
Mm-hmm.
social interpersonal skill building. And so that's real. Yes, to answer your question, in that world of serving in foster care and also as a counselor in the mental health world, I just saw the need, Melissa. It's like, hey, if these young people, they're into music, they're into dancing, they're into all the, why don't we lean in heavily on that and ensure that they get
Yeah.
access?
Yeah. And have you, because I'm sure that you do a lot of like educating adults about why these programs are important, right?
Yes.
So, what have you come across as barriers in terms of these people that you educate, like their philosophies on arts as education? Because, like, I know in Oklahoma, we don't value anything as sports here, but like some districts have more but not much. Like the district that my kids are in has this ridiculously state of the art performance center, and they've got like a really nice science center, but there are like 5,000 students in the high school because they value sports so much they won't build another one
Wow.
because then that makes us a better sports team, right? I don't know why my glasses keep fogging up. It's really agitating me. Um, but is that mostly what I know? Everyone's excuse is funding. I get that, but we prioritize what we prioritize. So
Sure.
it what are you hearing in terms of like why that's not a priority?
Funding. It's always funding, for arts education. It's always funding because, as you just mentioned, great parallel, you get it. And it's the same in not just in Oklahoma, in Maryland, and Baltimore, and other places around the country. The sports breed a different level of investment and financial return for school systems and private schools, public schools, charter colleges, right? Definitely high schools that are playing football and other popular sports. And we understand that that's something, but the arts have a place, and the arts also bring that if folks invest in it and support it. And so normally school districts that are serving black and brown kids in Baltimore, DC, and throughout our country, they're up against tough calls all the time about where
Mhm.
the budgetary need should be funneled. And unfortunately, the arts are one of those things that are going to be overlooked or undercut when they
Yeah,
look at the total way of budgeting things for young people. So our goal
it's
is to, it
ridiculous.
is, it is, it is, and our goal is to just continue to communicate that that's not the right way to go about it. That it should
Yeah.
actually be the opposite. Young kids are in early learning age, daycare, childcare, preschool age, before kindergarten. We should be introducing them to music or dance or painting and art, and like very much so, right? That's going to help not only the academic success and the cognitive success, but the social success, that soul work, that emotional.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking because this is what's just like shouting at me is I feel like the journey a child has to go through to have an experience in the arts, whether it's music or dance, um, is very similar to the entrepreneurial experience, where you have to overcome so much self-doubt and imposter syndrome and fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of judgment, fear of being perceived. I mean, there are so many emotional hoops that they have to go through that are wonderful. I mean, it's great. It's how we evolve as humans. That's why adults should be consuming artistic material. But
Yes.
I think that with the world being as emotionally unavailable as it is,
Mhm.
it's very tricky to get somebody to understand what happens in those really magical, powerful moments, that you are transcending some just like normal bullshit to get
Right.
to a place where you are secure enough to go perform in front of your peers, or even family who has a history of showing love through criticism. You know, like there's
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
so many psychological evolutions that a child has to go through to embody whatever it is that they're taking part in. And if somebody hasn't ever been in touch with their own emotions, it's hard for them to understand what you're offering a child in those
Yeah.
moments.
I totally agree. And again, with your theme and your constant communication being around the emotionally unavailable, definitely with a lot of us are, whether we believe it or we don't believe it. I
Mm-hmm.
know again as an artist, and as a person who's an advocate of the arts, sometimes we can have that experience of emotion through the arts. Same thing you were just mentioning about sports. How many folks are, mild mannered, never yell, never scream, but when they go to their favorite team game, or their child is playing on the field, now they're
Mm-hmm.
roaring and they're getting all that energy out, right? So that emotionally unavailable person sometimes gets to be very emotionally present through sports, through competition, through going to your
Mm-hmm.
favorite artist's concert, right? Right? Again, we're going to do it next week. We have Blake Shelton's coming here, Baltimore, next week on the 20th.
Wow.
We're going to be there. Our nonprofit has a relationship with the CFG Bank Arena. We love to get our partners and families and young people to sporting events and concerts, to expose them, to give them that level of engagement and exposure, Melissa. And so we know next week in that concert, we're going to see thousands of people roaring and cheering for Blake and all of the people he's supposed to have on tour with him. That's sometimes an emotionally charged release, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially for the emotionally unavailable that may be in their daily life or their relationship life, their platonic friends, their romance. They're not really checking, even with their own children, or children
Yeah.
with parents, not connecting emotionally. The human being is going to find its pathway to find the emotionally safe place to land. And what
Right.
we want to make sure our young people are doing is making healthy choices, that they're not
Yeah.
doing it in drugs or alcohol or other gangs or unwanted behaviors that'll shorten their lifespan or make life tough for them. The goal is to introduce them to pure things like music and theater and art, writing as a conduit to express themselves.
Right. I remember when so I have a 22-year-old and an 18-year-old. I have a 10-year-old too, but we've never gone to a concert. But when my boys were older or younger, I was always like super into music. Like that's like I just always had like a real spiritual connection to music. And so when my boys, well, truth be told, my 18-year-old probably wasn't that into music at the time, but his older brother was. So he's like, yeah, I want to go. But we went to concerts, and I mean, I was like pretty emotionally unavailable. Didn't realize that about myself, but we could connect through a concert, like we sharing, and we went to several. They kind of stopped wanting to go to concerts after a while, but for those couple of years, we went to quite a few, and it was a gift to me because there was this connection point that I didn't otherwise have, because when you're singing a song at the same time, you're experiencing something together, whether you're processing this in your own way and I'm processing my shit in my own way. We're having an experience together that you can't replace that. Even I have a friend that I didn't know that I liked live music until I went with my kids, actually. So I started to go
Mm,
to concerts like with friends after that. especially like we have I'm a like a baby Gen X elder millennial. So we have a band here that's a cover band of 90s music called My So-Called Band. You probably don't know that much about My So-Called Life, but it was very impactful in
Oh,
my
I remember that
generation.
show. I remember that show.
Oh my God, we were ate
Was it
up.
was
We
it
were
was
ate
it
up.
was it Claire Danes? Was it Claire
Yes,
Danes?
thank
Yes.
you. Yeah, I
Yes.
feel
Of
so
course.
seen. Yes.
Of
So we
course.
have a cover band called My So-Called Band, and we
I
love
love
it
it.
so much. So we try to catch it, and we have a little zoo amp place that we go to concerts to. But again, like I only share those experiences with certain people because it's really personal to me when we go see somebody sing. And again, if you're not paying attention, which most of us aren't, to those experiences, you don't know how impactful they can be to children, to offer another choice to the shy kid, to the kid who is built smaller and isn't going to be picked first for a sports team, you know,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and all of the kids that just feel voiceless, like giving them an opportunity to try something they wouldn't otherwise try. Obviously, I understand the value of it. How are you communicating that value to the community so that they can get on board with your projects?
Well, through as much communication as we can, with newsletters and e-blast and social media, trying to build our social media platform and directly in the hearts and minds of the young people in the community. Like every school is a hub of the community, especially in the inner city or the suburban area.
Mhm.
You go, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school, you are right smack dab in the middle of a community with multiple neighborhoods, oftentimes in Greater Baltimore and DC Metro, where we're predominantly serving multicultural neighborhoods with
Mhm.
various backgrounds, ethnicities, cultures, races, and creeds. And so that gives us an opportunity in real time to just express this message of love through the
Yeah.
arts. That's all we're
Mhm.
selling. We're selling love to young people through finding themselves in a place of dance or music or theater or visual arts. So it's really important for us to connect right in the hearts and minds of the parents and kids that we're serving, the administrators, the school body, the school team. We're working with YMCAs and rec centers as well, boys and girls clubs. That gets us right into the community, and so we love to communicate that way. And now we're trying to do better with increasing our profile with, uh, as we talked earlier, philanthropic folks. That are ready to support young people, underserved young people, and also the arts in general. And so we're now planning to broaden our voice as much as possible through marketing and media and grassroots marketing and media to elongate the opportunities for us to communicate to more people what it is that LTYC is doing and how you can be involved with Leaders of Tomorrow Youth Center through your giving, donor base, and philanthropic support, as well as new connections.
Yeah.
It's all of that school principal, or that preschool director, or that, you know, rec center, boys and girls club director that are looking to add arts enrichment to what they're providing their young people. And so
Yeah.
that's where we come in, Melissa.
Have you okay, so I worked in inner city schools for like 7 years. My background is in social work, but primarily hospice. And so I did this weird thing where I was like, I wish, I'm gonna go be a teacher like I wish my kid had. And so
Mhm.
it wasn't the best move for me, but I did it. And it was the hardest job I've ever had in my life. But so I only lasted 3 years as a teacher. And that third year was the year we all got sent home at spring break for COVID. So I really didn't
Okay.
even like finish my third year.
Sure.
And I did 4 years as a school counselor. That's the field I just left in May. And I hesitate to say this,
Mhm.
but the stereotype that I kind of came across in inner city schools is people believe that kids who live in lower socioeconomic status don't enjoy these activities. Like there was such a bias, like what? Never even thought
Right.
like that a kid would like drama, especially.
Hmm.
Um, but really anything musical that wasn't hip hop dance. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like they were
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
surprised that we could fill up those classes like every
Hmm.
time because we would have people coming from community places like what you're talking about, and be like, can we do a week's worth of PE, like your PE class being this? And I mean, the amount of resistance that would happen sometimes, depending on who kind of was in charge of making the decision. And it really did just come down to them truly believing that underserved children aren't into the arts.
Right. And the thing about that is all children are going to be interested in what you expose them to,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're a blank canvas ready to be, right? I was talking to my godson. I don't have any biological children yet, but I have a godson. He's just graduated from college, and we were out at dinner the other night. He's a brilliant young man, Delane, just graduated from the University of San Francisco this past year, and he's getting into his field and looking at jobs, and we're talking, just about how often uh, you can connect with people in your space,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
just be present in that.
Yeah. Because that's the thing that I saw with working with these kids is whatever you care about, they care about in this moment.
Yeah,
Like what, any kid, you
yeah.
show excitement about an activity, they're like, yeah, like we actually had somebody come in and teach our PE teacher at the school that I was at last, and taught
Mhm,
her how to teach cup stacking. Have you heard of cup
mhm.
stacking?
Yeah.
I hadn't ever heard of it. And I was like, oh my God, I would have fucking ate this shit up as a kid,
See, see,
because it's all this stuff. But the amount of children, and I mean, even our little hard ass fifth graders, they're, the level of competition, but it's something they're learning hand-eye coordination. There's all kinds of stuff. They
yep,
were so into it. And they
yep,
like really loved competing against me. Like we would come and
yeah,
do these little contests all the time. That's what
yeah,
any kid gets
yeah,
into, whatever you're into. If they look up to you and they have a connection with you, they're going
yeah,
to try it. And that's the only way we learn what we do and don't like anyway, or what we're good at, is to try it. And if kids aren't getting an opportunity to see new things and try
yeah.
new things, how are they going to learn?
We must expose young people to multiple things, and what my godson and I were saying, we were talking about it from a language and point of view, because he
Mm-hmm.
speaks English and Spanish, and we were talking about his resume and how that him being able to speak, and understand fluent Spanish is a plus on his resume to get a job. And so it took us down a conversation just about languages,
Mm-hmm.
all of the Romance languages, Italian and Spanish and French. And we did that whole thing. So when we got to the tougher languages that we called them at that dinner, we were like, well, what about, Mandarin and Japanese and Chinese and German and all? I said, you know what? The interesting thing about the human makeup is, had your mom had you here in America in Baltimore, and at 6 months old put you on a plane and decided she was going to move to China and raise you in China, you would have grew up speaking Chinese,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just like naturally. Even if she was still speaking to you in English, you would have got that, but you would have gotten the other thing too, because as a blank canvas, Melissa, young people are there for us to help cultivate. We all have to be cultivated by our environment, by what we're taught, by our experiences. And so we believe that every young person has a blank canvas, that the arts should be a part of that process of development.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they choose it as a lifelong hobby,
Right.
career, business, it doesn't matter. The impartation that it opens young people up to is powerful. And so that's our
Yeah.
journey. We want to make sure that every young person has equitable access to the arts, specifically in our boots on the ground here in the Mid Atlantic, Maryland, DC, Virginia, and then through our LTYC Learn uh, virtual learning platform that we've launched. We believe we can reach other young people throughout the world, throughout the country, so that we're touching the urban, suburban, and rural communities. Young
Yeah.
people often forget that the rural community is often a lot of underserved young people,
Yeah.
not all inner city urban. It's that rural piece uh, is very eye opening. how many young
Yeah.
people don't have immediate access to enrichment opportunities and engagement through arts and athletics and community programming,
Hmm.
So we're really excited to
Yeah.
keep this journey.
Well, a couple of things. So when you said virtual, is it like live or video? Like pre-recorded?
Both. We've done both.
That's cool.
We've done both, and and you mentioned COVID. We started the idea actually in 2018, 2019, and we were forced to pilot it, of course, during 2020 and 2021 because everything was shut down. And so
Yeah.
we really learned a lesson there that first we were on the right track to find ways to offer the arts in another platform other than in person, even though in person is still the preference and the sweet
Sure,
spot.
sure.
But that um over the last 3 years, through research, we've learned that the fastest growing form of education in America is homeschooling.
Mm,
The fastest growing form that there are people, parents throughout the country for multiple reasons. When you think of COVID, health fragility, workflow, bullying,
mhm,
school shootings, all types
mhm.
of things that, depending on where you are and what your experience has been, has caused parents to migrate their children outside of the traditional classroom setting and home. And what we see is oftentimes you're missing those core things that help your
Yeah.
development. What you and I were talking about earlier, as far as sports and that whole experience, you miss out on that when you're in homeschooling. You're
Mhm.
not getting phys ed every day the way that you would normally get it. And the same thing goes for the fine arts. When
Yeah.
you're pulling kids out of school, it could work and it's great. And if you're a great educator, or at home dad or mom that can give your kid the whole thing, then that's awesome. But if you're missing some of the other expenditures and extensions of education more than just reading, writing, and math,
Yeah.
then what we might be under serving all children, right? Maybe all children in America are underserved.
Yeah. I
Maybe
mean,
we're not, because they're just emotionally, like what we're talking, like
yeah.
maybe it's we're not doing a good job around everything. Maybe that.
Well, I agree because what I was thinking of to one of your earlier points was you said even if it's not like your career and you're just doing it for yourself, I wish to God that we could teach children more about even with the sports because people would enjoy sports more if we weren't like, okay, go be perfect at it. And also from the time you start at 5 years old until you graduate from high school, pressure's on to get a scholarship from this, be the best, go to the
Mhm.
pros. I'm sorry, I've been around a lot of parents in my 22 years of parenting, and they get really stupid around this being the path for their child. And how many high schoolers do we see that by the time they reach high school, they've quit any of those extracurriculars because the pressure was too much. Like, well, I mean, I'm not going pro, so what's the
Right,
point? Even in the arts. And so I
right,
feel like if we could cultivate just a love for any of these activities through the understanding that like it's an actual benefit for mind, body, spirit to engage in any arts or sports extracurricular activity, that is the true benefit, and that is
yeah,
where we really are underserving all children. Is we go put our like anything that we didn't receive in childhood, we put all our little hopes and dreams on these kids and say go be 10 times better than I was at everything, not just in this area. But
sure, sure,
how much pressure are we putting on kids to succeed to a level that we weren't capable of? Most people aren't. I mean, if you look at statistics, the probability of your child being, Russell Westbrook or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, pretty low, pretty low.
right,
I mean,
right,
they're 1 in a million.
yeah.
But why can't they just love the game of
Mhm.
basketball or love dance or love creating art or music?
Yeah, and love it for what it does in real time, emotionally, like we're talking about, as well as socially, but also just for fun. And it could
Right.
be all of those things. It could be a career, it could be a pathway, it could be just a hobby, it could be a coping mechanism. And so
Mm-hmm.
we want to use that as well. Coping tools work for the arts and athletics and engagement around other people. And I love what you're saying. You're right. It's very we pressure comes in different forms, but we want to make sure that if we're giving pressure to young people that already comes through social media nowadays and family and other ways,
Mhm.
can we also set them up beautifully to be as successful as they would choose to be by giving them options? And that's what we're
Right.
doing for Leaders of Tomorrow Youth Center. It's about, let's give options, let's expose and enrich young people through arts by exposing them to art forms and in pathways that they may not have been exposed to before. Get them again to field trips, get them to concerts, get them to exhibits, get them to plays, get them
Mhm.
to dance recitals, get them to museums, art museums, to ensure that the richness of the arts experience is helping their development and aiding in their successful journey as adults.
Yeah. Well, we know through the ecological theory alone that the more exposure a child has to different parts of the community, the more likely they are to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think too that I just think about adults that I work with as a therapist that I say we need to figure out how you can cultivate joy in your life now, and the starting point is always what brought you joy as a child. So if we're now training children up with knowing this is the thing I do when I need to uplift myself or center myself, what a great gift. But I think it does take people speaking on this from the angle that you are taking specifically, because let's be really real here. All of the speeches that we ever get about, especially foster kids, it's all about the statistics, right? I'm a former foster child. So I was raised being spouted to about the statistics. Like, you are very likely to be a teenage mother. You are very likely to this. You are very likely to this. Now, because of my extensive childhood trauma, I was fueled by spite. So that was very helpful for me. I was like, oh, okay, got it. I won't do any of those things because I will win. But
Right.
I mean, most of the time, people hear these statistics and they quit before they start. And
Yeah.
I feel like I won't say all, a majority of the education that I have heard from community organizations like yours is just all about preventing the statistics, preventing the child from being a statistic. But they're not go. Yeah, that's obviously what we want, right? But
Right.
they're not going backwards and going, but here's how. This is why. And also kids who aren't in foster care or in a house with domestic violence, kids who have a 0 ACE score will still benefit from these activities as much as anyone else, and
Mm-hmm.
also adults. Like,
Yeah.
this is something that families can take a part of. Once you get this kid to cultivate love for any part of it and you have an involved family, hey, there you go. There's a whole little subset of skills and connection that a kid's going to get
Yeah.
versus just keep the kids off drugs. I mean, yes, we want to keep kids off drugs and we want to keep them off the
Yeah. Of
streets. We want to keep
course.
them out of gangs. That's the whole point. But
Yes.
also, we want to teach them coping skills. We want to teach them mediation skills. We want to teach them how to fight imposter syndrome, how to not care how they're perceived by their peers. You know what I mean? Like, we want to
Yes.
teach them these really lifelong skills, not just let's keep them off drugs. This is how you keep them off drugs, is by teaching them the way to
Yeah.
become a healthy adult. And if they can model that for a parent, hell, even better.
Yep. I
Oh, I got
totally
real
agree.
loud. Sorry.
No, no, that was great. No, that I loved it, and I love that you sharing your back. I mean, that's it. We have a lot of synergy here. This conversation is blessed from above in multiple ways because we're right on target here. Just with what's needed. And here you talk about being in care. Yes, the statistics have a place because numbers matter. Life is
Yeah,
about
yeah.
numbers,
Well,
but
that's how you get the funding, is numbers.
yeah,
We
yeah,
get
of
it.
course.
Yeah.
But at the
Hmm.
same time, we don't want to rehearse and massage down talk to young people. We want
Right.
to uplift them and accuse them of doing well,
Yeah.
right? You can we accuse young people of doing so many other things, or they're like you
Absolutely.
said, you're going to be, because we understand, we care, and people cared about us. So sometimes you had the people who taught you, some people modeled it for you, and some people talked a lot or tried to scare you straight. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
don't you go out there, you're gonna die. Don't you do this, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get pregnant. Don't you do this, you're
Yeah.
gonna do. And that has its place. We understand
Sure.
that
Sure.
that's still coming from a
I'm not
place
mad
of
at
good
it.
intention. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
coming from a good place of intention, but we can shape it differently now, where we can take a word that's normally used in a negative connotation about young people, which is accusing them
Mm-hmm.
of doing all these things and being the generation that's